Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a crochet bubble stitch. These are examples of a pattern made with this stitch. They look like nice bumps that are sticking out. This one is a straight pattern, and this one when you arrange your bubble stitches in a zigzag pattern. And I'll post the links to the videos of how to do these stitch patterns. But right now I'm going to show you the basics. Okay, so for this sample I have a row of 12 single crochet stitches here. Okay, so the basics. The bubble stitch is a type of a cluster stitch where you make an odd number, usually 5, sometimes 7, of unfinished stitches, which could be double crochet, treble crochet, and even half double crochets. So, but the most common that is used is usually double crochet. So I don't count the turning chain as a first double crochet stitch. Most of people do. I don't. I just kind of disregard it in most cases. So for this purpose, chain 2 and turn. So don't count this. And this is our first stitch where we're going to do the bubble stitch. And what it is several, as I said, we're going to do 5. It's 5 unfinished double crochet stitches in one stitch. So this is 1. Then you do a yarn over, go in, get your yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on the hook and leave it unfinished. So each time you do this unfinished double crochet, you will have a hook, you will have a loop on the hook. So we did 1, 2. Let's do 3 more. 3, 4, and 1 more. 5. So not counting this loop over here, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on the hook. Now what we do a yarn over and pull through all loops. Okay, so this makes our stitches kind of puff up in the back. And when you crochet this stitch, usually that's what you want. You want the puffing out in the back of your fabric, and this will be your right side of fabric. Okay, when you do a bubble stitch, if you're using double crochet stitches, then you have to follow with a stitch, a smaller stitch, so the bubble stitch will puff out really nice. Okay, so we're gonna do a single crochet stitch to the next stitch. Okay, so if you look in the back, you see a nice bubble here. Okay, as I said, you can do this stitch with treble crochet stitches and with extended double crochets. There's so many ways of doing this stitch, and it doesn't have to be 5, it could be 7 sometimes, depending on the pattern. Okay, so let's do 1 more. We're gonna do 5 unfinished double crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So it's 1, 2, let me get my yarn here, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 plus the loop that was on the hook before. Now we're gonna yarn over, pull through all the loops, and follow up with a smaller stitch. In this case it's a single crochet. Okay, so you'll continue if you're doing your fabric out of these stitches. This is what you would do. You would just continue going. Okay, now when you're crocheting, your bubble stitch doesn't have to be poking out in the back. If you're using this stitch as a standalone element, you can choose which way do you want it to pop up. All you have to do, just use your finger. Okay, if for example you're crocheting in the round, so this side will have to be the right side of your work. So you basically choose what you want to do, whether you want your stitch to puff out in this way or the other way. Okay, all right, let's do a bubble stitch out of treble crochets. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 yarn overs, go into the next stitch, and we'll do 5 again. So in this case our bubble stitch will be a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is 1 unfinished treble crochet, and let's do 4 more. So here I did 5 treble crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So now I'm gonna just do yarn over and pull through. Okay, so as you can see, this is gonna be a larger bubble stitch, depending on what you want and what your pattern calls for. Or for example, if you're using a thinner yarn, not worsted, for example, DK weight or thinner, so this is probably the bubble stitch you will use to have it a good size. Okay, so after this stitch you will need to follow up with a smaller stitch, which in this example double crochet will be fine. So this is the trick I wanted to tell you about. With these stitches, for them to pop out nicely and have this nice bump shape, you have to alternate these stitches or use it in the fabric of a smaller stitch. If you're using double crochet puffs, then your other fabric has to be single crochet stitches. If you're using treble crochets, then double crochet would be fine, but no taller than double crochet. Otherwise this stitch would be flatter and you won't see this nice puffy shape like you want. And again, you can choose where you want your bubble stitch to pop out to this side of the work, and you can correct this easily with your finger. Okay, or if you want it to be on the other side, you just pop them back. Okay, okay, another trick I'll show you that you can use. For example, you're using a fabric in double crochet stitches, which is the most common one that you would make hats out of, for example, and you want to insert a bubble stitch like here and there, or form a pattern of some sort. And for double crochet, I found instead of using a treble crochet stitch, which is also fine, you can use an extended double crochet stitch just for the bubble part. Okay, and I'll show you. I'll post a link here of how to do the extended double crochet, and I'll show you here real quick. Here we have a couple of double crochet stitches, and we're gonna make our bobble stitch out of the extended double crochets, so the bobble pops out a little bit more. Okay, so we're just gonna pull through the first loop only, and then we'll continue in pairs. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and we're doing extended double crochet stitches here, which are slightly taller than a regular double crochet stitch. So here we have 5 extended double crochet stitches. Then we're gonna pull through, and I want this bubble stitch to be in the front, and I'm gonna follow up with a regular double crochet right after that to continue my regular fabric. There are a lot of patterns that call for this cute stitch on its own or in combination with other stitches, and as I learn and browse for them, I will share it with them. Okay, so here is an example for you to compare. Let me make another double crochet so you could see it better. This is a little trick I wanted to share, really. Okay, this is really useful when you're making hats, for example, with double crochet base. Okay, so here we have double crochets, this bubble stitch made out of treble crochets, and it's kind of huge. But this one, made out of extended double crochets, puffs out just exactly, the right amount. This is what I like to do. I don't use treble crochets. I use extended double crochets. So I'm gonna post the links of how to make this pattern out of the bubble stitches to have them sit in a straight line, and also I'll do another video of this pattern where you have the bubble stitches in a zigzag pattern, and you can use different color every row. You just can have a lot of fun with it. Okay, so stay tuned. Happy crocheting.